So where I left off last time was when Kelly was trying to be like all big and bad with Portia. They call it like Napoleon complex or whatever. And I do think that's true because even in dogs, you see that. Large dogs don't bark that much, but it's the little dogs that are the most annoying. I feel like it's the same with humans. Kelly was able to talk her big shit because they knew that production wasn't going to let Portia put hands on her. Portia herself knows that she has too much to lose. And Portia has already put hands on a castmate and she's already had her HR talking to her and Phaedra. So this is kind of like a three strike you're out thing with her. And she's already got two strikes. But you notice how quick production was to hold Portia back and remove her from the scene, which is why I kind of felt like, oh, Kelly, you're talking big because you know they're not going to let Portia put hands on you. But I also think Kelly was just drunk. I think she was just drunk. We don't get a lot of scenes with Kelly. I think it's hard for Kelly because she don't have a lot of people to film with. She don't have a husband to film with. She don't have a boyfriend to film with. She don't have her kids to film with. I mean, I know she did film a scene with her and her nana and her mom and whatever. That scene kind of made me feel uncomfortable because I felt like Kelly was basically supporting her whole family, like being the provider and everything. And I kind of felt like they were really appreciative of her. If there is someone who will be demoted, it probably will be Kelly. And if they demote Kelly, they're probably going to put Cynthia as full time. How much Cynthia is filming and the role that she's playing, she's basically full time. Cynthia, I hope you're getting a nice paycheck. I'm going to say with a very high confidence that Cynthia Bailey is not getting the standard friend of contract. Now, Cynthia, she has the ladies over at her house. She has a beautiful house that is right by the lake or something. She told the ladies, come casual. Everybody comes casual except for Angela. Angela legit came in heels and an evening gown. They all sit in her damn couch. They're all kikiing about what's going on. Well, Angela is telling Drew, Portia, Phaedra, and Cynthia what her meetup was like with Shamea. So in the previous episode that I didn't get to recap, and I'm doing it all at once, Angela and Shamea met up at a restaurant to kind of hash it out, whatever. Even though she blames Angela for the breakup of her and Portia's relationship, watching this as like just a viewer, I feel like you already had problems with Portia that had nothing to do with Angela. Portia even says directly to Shamea, like, well, I've heard from people who know us, not anyone from the show, people outside of the show, they say you talk shit about me. They're telling her that, then you can't really say that it's because of Angela. You have your issues with Portia that has nothing to do with the show. Like their mothers, there's a whole entire beef going on with their mothers. Their fallout, do I think it has to do with the show? I do. I do. You cannot bring someone that you are good friends with onto a show like The Real Housewives. No friends and no family. We've seen it over there in New Jersey, even though Bravo insists over there in New Jersey to drag it out into a family saga. They're not getting anywhere. They're throwing out accusations about each other. I mean, Shania starts talking about Angela's real estate, basically saying she can't sell any houses and, to go make money some other way. Angela's making fun of Shamea for being a hostess because of whatever. And then they start talking about each other's husbands. Angela's like, well, the few times that my husband was out, he saw your ass out. Then they started talking about money, and Shamea's like, it pays well. Angela's like, the men pay well. I was like, Angela, you can't be doing that Portia thing like what Portia's doing with Kelly. No, you need to name names because I personally feel like what Portia did with Kelly was that she got that info from Phaedra. Because even at Phaedra's house, it was like she was looking to Phaedra to kind of like verify it. So I'm like, okay, well, where did you get this info from, Portia? You didn't get this from some man that just randomly text messaged you after he had sex with Kelly. You got that shit from messy ass Phaedra. So I'm thinking like, okay, Angela, like if you're gonna throw out an accusation like that, you need something to back it up. In her confessional, she's like, I don't have proof, but I believe it. I believe it from the person that told me. Who told you? Was it Portia? I feel like maybe Portia told. Listen, those two, they've been best friends since they were 16 years old. Do I think that Shamea would have told Portia something like that? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So I'm like, who told you? Who told you, Angela? Tell us. Tell us who told you. I mean, Angela's just throwing it out there on national TV that Shamea's messing around with the Falcons and the Hawks. I mean, she has a thing for birds. Yeah, okay, she's with the birds. So Shamea, she ups and leaves because she really has no reason to have an issue with Angela. Like, it's not that deep. Even their insults with each other is not that deep because Pinky and Angela, they're able to move on from it. I think what makes a good housewife is this is a reality show and you have to treat it as a job. This is your job. Now, does that mean that you need to make up complete bullshit? No, don't do that because that's fake. But you also can't hold grudges because the whole entire thing about these kind of show is that they want drama, resolution, right? Conflict and resolution. But I will say though, Shamea makes a lot of sense because Angela says to Shamea, well, you're always talking about me. And Shamea's like, what did I say that even was that bad? Because Portia, she's saying all this shit about your marriage and you were able to move past it. And then you have Phaedra doing that whole shit. You were able to move past it. But with me, you got a problem with what I'm saying or the things that I've been saying. That makes sense. That seemed a little like sideways because I do feel like, okay, Angela, like the energy is a little bit too extra because I felt like she didn't have that energy for Phaedra or with Portia, the PPs. I also feel like Angela's the type that could move on. She could move on no problem because even the way she went at it with Pinky, they're cool now. It was nothing. So I think if Shamea would unclench her butt cheeks, Angela and her could move on too. I don't like, I feel like Angela treats this very much as a job, as you should. As you should, Angela, because that's also how Portia treats it. Now, Portia and Kay, they also meet up. It was set up by Pinky and Cynthia, and they let them kind of talk it out. They basically came to like an agreement that, like, they're going to come to each other first, whatever. So it actually worked out in their scene. They were able to squash it, but I already said that that's because Portia, she treats this like a job. When filming stops, she goes about whatever it is that she does. Kay Michelle, listen, I don't know of her from her other reality shows that she's done, but on Atlanta, I kind of feel like she's not fitting in well with the group. I feel like she's a little bit over the top. She's not really saying what she needs to say, but I feel like just the speed of her talking is very slow, and I need her to speed it up to like a 10 or something. I also don't think her confessional look is that great. Like maybe she's like the same size as Kelly. I don't know. She doesn't look like she's very tall. The other ladies look way bigger than her, but it could just be that she's really petite. I don't know. But the thing with Kay is that it seems like every single time she's talking about this plotting and planning that supposedly some of her castmates are doing on her, she adds something new to it. So she said that, the plotting and planning was that they were going to bring up about her and Black, making it seem that like there was some sort of like relationship there or something. The next thing was that they were going to bring up about her, with JJ having a stank to it. But listen, if they did, you wouldn't have been the first housewife because Brandy Glanville legit got sued and then had to issue a public apology. I think it was like the girl down in Miami. And then she said the third thing that they were going to bring up was her toes were long, that she had long toenails. I was just like, this is so fucking dumb. This is like the dumbest shit I've ever heard. I felt like she just threw in that toenail at the last minute because she just wanted to have three things. We also get a scene with Kay talking to her son. I feel like Kay will be the type of mother that is very jealous of any girl that her son ends up with because she's going to be the type of mother that does not want to replace being the only woman in her son's life. You know what? I might be the same way. I have two boys and two girls. I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe I'll be like Norman Bates' mom too. I probably will be like Kay Michelle. Now, Phaedra and Kay, they go out to have like a fishing event. It was a cute scene. Phaedra's giving her some good advice. It kind of reminds me of like last season when Phaedra was giving Britt Eady some advice. Pinky is doing a movie based on her life. It's called Edgewood. And she legit said she was from the ghetto. Those are her words, not mine. Rewind that shit if you need to. I don't know where in Edgewood she's talking about. Edgewood, New Jersey? Like Edgewood, Georgia? Edgewood, Maryland? I have no idea where Pinky's from, but she legit said it was the ghetto. So okay, there's that. This scene was a little weird. So Shamea is there. I guess she's auditioning or whatever. Drew comes in there. She said that she wasn't there to audition. The way she was with Shamea, it was kind of like Drew had this kind of like a little bit like, oh, how do you think I'm going to audition? Okay, Drew, calm down, calm down. Listen, yes, Drew has been in movies, but so has Kenya Moore, so has Kyle Richards. Even Portia at this point has been in movies. But you being in movies, you are not Meryl Streep. Like when Shamia was like, oh, are you auditioning? And she's like, no, I'm here for you. I felt like it was a little bit like she was putting it on. And again, yes, I know she's been in movies, but again, is she Meryl Streep? Well, is she? Is she Meryl Streep? Drew Sidora as much talent as she has and her fandom and whatever, she is not running in the same circle as Beyonce. Okay. So I felt like Drew at that moment, she thought she was Beyonce. That's what I felt like. But I could also see how she feels like, well, no, I'm taking myself seriously as an actress. So you're going to do it the right way. You're not going to just think that I'm a nobody. Like if you're taking yourself seriously as an actress and they need to do it by protocol, you need to give a script, you need to give the slides, you need to do all that, right? So she goes in to say hi to Pinky. While they're saying hi, she's like, oh, no, 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 no. I'm just here to give support to you. Pinky's looking at her like, okay, girl. There seems to be some miscommunication, whatever. I don't know. The Pinky didn't do it by protocol. And Drew has a team. If you're paying money to your team, they need to work. You're not paying them just to sit around and not do work. By the way, speaking of the team, there was this hilarious scene with Drew and her team. Her team was calling each other out because I guess they were having beef with each other. But while they were calling each other out, they were dragging Drew. He legit said that Drew's wig was lifting. I love that scene. I love that scene with Drew and her team. I was like, you know what? If this was a spin-off, I would watch it. I would watch it. And that would be like a good spin-off. Drew and her team. It could kind of be like an entourage thing where she goes to meet with producers, pitch, sizzle reels, go read for auditions, go do her recording. But that scene was so hilarious. I thought that was so funny and cute. Now, Shamea, she also has a scene with her mom and whatever. Listen, her husband wants a boy. He is from Kenya, like very African, tribal, whatever. And she even talks about it. And African men want a boy. Now, Shamea, though, she's in her 40s. And, she's going through IVF and she's going through surrogacy and all this other stuff. So she also says that she's scared because, her younger daughter was born with these special needs. Listen, that's a real world issue. I felt like that scene was really genuine, but her husband doesn't seem like he wants to film. And now she throws her husband a birthday celebration, but she said it was a surprise party, and that's why she invited the ladies at the last minute. I personally think that she invited them because she wasn't sure if she wanted the event to be filmed, or maybe she wasn't sure if her husband would want them there. I don't think it was because, she didn't want the other ladies telling her husband, like, okay, whatever. Well, anyway, only a few other ladies showed up. She didn't invite Portia. Portia said that, she didn't care about it. She has a right to invite who she wants to her house. But she said that Dennis knew about it, not at the last minute either. Now, Shamea, how she explains it is that Dennis and her husband are close. Cynthia, she should have been the center peach because the way Cynthia is just being like the peacemaker with all the ladies, she's hosting cast trips, she's in every scene, she's at every event. She deserves to be sitting next to Andy Cohen and being the center peach. Anyway, Shamea also meets up with Cynthia, and they're talking with each other about her situation with the whole surrogacy, and then her situation with Portia, and then her situation with Angela, and her situation with Drew. And Cynthia's like, okay, what exactly is your issue with Drew? Shamia's like, I don't really have a problem with Drew. So they decide to meet up. Now, here was kind of like another little weird scene. Drew is doing like the national anthem at like some event, whatever. So Kay goes, even though she told Drew that she wasn't going to go because she's sick. She's like hiding out in her truck. She calls Phaedra to find out where Phaedra is, only to find out that Phaedra isn't going. She's still hiding out in her truck. So I kind of felt like, oh, why did you need Phaedra there to like be your backup or something? Or maybe she just wasn't comfortable. I don't know. She's hiding out in her truck and then she finally comes out. Now, I think production was just like, yeah, you need to get the hell out of the truck. We can't be wasting the camera crew on just filming you sitting in the truck. So she gets out of her vehicle and she says hi to Drew. And Drew's like, oh, I'm so glad you came, especially since you were sick. And she's like, oh, I just came to show support to the family. Okay, girl, whatever. I mean, it's so crazy. This is not her first rodeo. She should be a veteran of reality TV. So the way she's moving is kind of crazy to me. The highlight of this latest episode is when Drew meets up with Kay and Shamea. Well, anyway, so the three of them meet up and Kay is saying something to Drew like, oh, I don't want to be anywhere where I don't belong or I don't feel like I belong. And Drew's like, kind of playing dumb. I genuinely felt like Drew knew exactly what Kay was talking about, but she was playing dumb, which kind of brings me back to like what Kay called her. Kay called her the huh girl because she's always like, huh? 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 And then you see the production editors like doing the flashbacks of all the scenes where Drew makes that face where she's going like, huh? 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 So Kay calls her the huh girl. I do get it because like in this episode, when Drew makes that face again, she's like, huh? But I felt like she knew exactly what Kay was talking about because she was the one that said it. So
She knew exactly what Kay was talking about, but Shamea tells her anyway, and Shamea's like, "Well, you did say that she didn't belong and whatever." So then Drew's like, "Well, I don't know like these little fragments and punctuations and whatever else and all this other stuff." Kay gets upset, or she feels like, you know what, I'm not going to do this BS or whatever. She says she's going to the bathroom. Shamea takes her purse because she's like, "No, I'm holding on to your purse because I don't think you're going to come back." But she legit like left in Shamea's car, so she left even without her purse. And then Shamea and Drew are talking about it, and then they get into it. Drew calls her a lapdog, and I guess that's a triggering word for Shamea. Listen, everybody has a triggering word, a comment of whatever. So for Shamea, that's hers, being called a lapdog. So she gets upset and she leaves with Kay. And while they're leaving, they're playing like the national anthem, and they're both like singing off key, I guess like to make fun of Drew or whatever. That was how the episode ends.